Hello and welcome to the channel that covers everything where health and technology meet. Today I'm going to be reviewing the MYX Fitness Bike. Now I've been excited about this for a long time, particularly for this bike and the Stride. And the Stride review is coming soon, so subscribe if you want to know when that comes out. And the reason I'm excited for these bikes is because they fill in a price tier that really hasn't had a lot of options before. Before you had options like these, where you didn't have the connected fitness options, but they were good solid bikes in the $300 to say $900 price range generally. But if you decide you want to jump up to the connected fitness bike experience, you had to get one of these options that cost more in the $2,000 to mid $2,000 price range. But as of filming this video right now, this bike here is $1,200, $1,400 if you want the Plus package, and it has the whole connected fitness experience. Now when you first look at this bike, everything about it resembles a high-end bike. The structure, how it's built, the features it has, the attached monitor with the ecosystem included, everything about it makes you feel like you're getting a Peloton grade bike. But you're not. There are some things that you're going to miss out. And I want to make sure that I'm clear about this because as I go through this video, I'm going to be pointing out what you do get, what you would get that's like on a Peloton-like bike, but also the features you don't. And when I say, well, you don't have this, you don't have that, I'm not knocking this bike. You have to understand this is at a different price point, and how they get the price down is by eliminating some features, but trying to keep the best that they can and get it at a price where you can get into it, where maybe you wouldn't have been able to afford a Peloton or don't want to spend that much. So it's not a knock, it's just pointing out what it does and doesn't have so you can make a more informed decision on if this is the bike for you or if you'd rather pay for the increase and get all those features. So let's start off by covering some of the basics of this bike. So I'll start with one of the most important features being the resistance. Now this uses a friction-based resistance system instead of magnetic like a lot of the bikes out there right now. And to be honest, I prefer magnetic, but by this much. The difference is very, very small. And for most people, it is not going to make a difference because you really can't tell. Only people that are very, very specific with what they want are going to want to make sure that they get a magnetic because to be honest, this is really, really good. And for the most part, I could barely tell. Now, as far as range goes, you can dial in light resistance, medium resistance, and hard resistance really well. And that's something I always think is really important, is being able to find different ranges and not feeling like you're making big jumps. If you want to make a slight tweak, like just make it a little harder or a little lighter, you can easily do that with this bike. And on top of that, the top end resistance is actually really good. When you really want to challenge it, thinking those really strong uphill experiences where you want to have to fight for every pedal stroke, this bike can deliver that. So all in all, resistance, while not maybe quite on par with, say, your top end bikes, it is very, very close. And considering the price savings, I got no complaints. I think it's really, really good. Now, when it comes to pedals, they have both clip-ins and cages. And I've talked about this in other videos, but this is exactly how these bikes should be built. And even when comparing to your top-end bikes, they don't always have this style where they have both types. They have one or the other or something else. So I'm very, very happy with the MYX pedal setup. Good job, MYX. When it comes to adjustability, it's four-way adjustable, meaning the seat goes up and down, forward and backwards. Same thing with the monitor. It goes up and down, forward and backwards, meaning you can really tweak this bike to make it fit you just perfectly. And also, I have a feeling it's going to fit a lot of people of a lot of different sizes really well. Now, as far as adjusting the bike goes, a lot of bikes you just twist the knob and tighten and it holds it in place. With this bike it does that, but it also has a knob where it pulls out and then it has a pin that goes into a hole, securing it that much more. And this is a pro and a con because when it goes into that hole and the pin is in there, it's locked in that much tighter, so you're really secure. So once you're set up, it's very good. Because you have to dedicate one hand to pulling that pin out, you only have one hand left to move the seat or the monitor up and down, which can be a little trickier. Not a big deal, something you're more than capable of doing, just something you have to slow down a little bit on and focus and make sure you don't mistakenly make that mistake. But short version, you can really adjust this well, get it to fit you. It should work for just about anybody. And you have the attached monitor, which is very good. If I had to come up with one complaint, I say that it's a little bit boxy. And the back has a section that sticks out a little bit farther, so it's not as thin as some models, but that's a very small detail and hardly a big deal. But as far as the monitor goes, quality is great, colors are great, text is easy to read, picture quality overall is just very good. I was very happy with it. I think you would be too. Hello, future me checking in. I'm editing the video right now, and there's a few things that I think are beneficial that I didn't mention. And the first is how easy this bike is to assemble. Now, when I received it, it was pretty much fully assembled. The only thing that had to be done was attach the monitor, which comes in its own box. I think it was 4 screws, took about 10 seconds, extremely easy. So as far as assembly goes, don't worry about it. It is a super easy job. The second thing I wanted to point out is that when you extend the monitor away from you, so when you use that adjustment to kind of push that away, it adds a little bit of wobble because the metal is not on top of each other. It's kind of slid out. It is minor, but you might notice it when I'm riding. Now, I think most people would probably have it all the way in. I'm just a larger person, so I push it farther away so I can fit. There is a little wobble. I don't think it's anything that should steer you away from purchasing this bike, but it is something that's worth noting and something I wanted to point out. And third, I want to cover the noise level of this bike. Generally, magnetic resistant bikes are pretty much silent. This bike, because it uses friction, does have some noise. It's like a slight whirling noise. At light resistance, you can almost barely hear it, and as you turn the resistance up, it presses harder and it makes more noise. I'll show you some videos so you can kind of hear it for yourself. It's only something that really is probably a problem if you need silence. You just want to work out and you want absolutely no noise. But if you're listening to music or the instructors are doing just about anything, it's probably not going to be a big deal. But it does add a little noise that other bikes don't have, so I just wanted to point that out. Now, on top of some of the standard features we've already talked about, let's talk about some of the features you get that you would expect on some of the top end bikes that you do get with this model. And let's start with that monitor. It includes their own software, which means you have an interface. So when you turn this thing on, you start using it for the first time, you'll see their screens with the different options, different categories of workout types, filters, things you can do, and they have their own system for that, and you can find different types of content and use that monitor to do it right out of the box, so that's very nice. Much like other top end bikes. If you do buy the Plus model, which I recommend, you get a bunch of extras such as dumbbells, kettlebells, foam roller, and resistance bands. You also get a swivel screen, which is starting to become more common, but a lot of bikes don't have it, and it is a very nice feature for those off-the-bike workouts. And I tried to use my Scosche heart rate monitor on this, which did not work, but it didn't really matter because they send their own, and that worked perfectly, so I was very happy with that. Next, we're going to talk about the features you miss out on if you get this bike, but don't miss out on hitting that like button. Huge assist for the channel, and you know I really appreciate it. So to quickly touch on some of the features you don't have on this bike compared to top tier options, you don't have the attached weight rack. Now, I think some of this is because they have the swivel monitor and a lot of their workout based stuff is off the bike. But if you ever want to ride and just do the lifting or do some arm movements while you ride or kind of change up your ride, you wouldn't be able to do that, which I don't really like that. But again, you can do so much off the bike that it kind of counters that. But the big items is that it doesn't have a resistance display and a cadence display. And I'm going to go more into that in my overall thoughts here in just a second. But as far as the features you lose at a high level, those are it. So next I want to take a second to talk about the user interface and the content that's available through MYX. Now, as far as the user interface goes, it's clean, it's easy to navigate, it's pretty snappy, meaning there's not a lot of delays between selections. It seems to work really well. And much like other options, it gets the job done. And that's what you're really looking for in a user interface. Now, when it comes to the content itself, it's a little different than other bikes I've noticed. Now, what I've experienced with other bikes to this point is that you have either one of two types. You have a studio environment where you have the instructor, and then you have a bunch of other people riding around them, and you kind of get that feeling like you're in the middle of a class. A lot of people motivating you, working together. Other ones, it's more of a club type environment where you have your instructor, it's kind of dark, there's flashing lights all over the place, the music's blaring, and it's just trying to motivate you through that. This one, it's a little different. I describe it more of a zen or a spa-like feel. It's just really clean. It's warm. It's well lit. It's just the one instructor with you in a one-on-one approach. And personally, I really liked it. I thought the instructors I was with were good. I really liked them. They just have warm personalities. And the background just feels inviting, feels warm, and just, again, that spa-like or zen-like feel. Now, a lot of this is going to depend on what you want. Some people love that motivation of a lot of people around them, and some just love that club, get you pumped environment, where this is just that easygoing, more relaxed, chill, let me get my work done environment. So a lot of it's going to depend on what you like, but I will say I actually really enjoyed it. So let's move on to my overall thoughts on this bike and if I recommend it. And with any workout equipment, my recommendation is always to find the option that checks off the boxes for you. So if you're watching this and you're checking the features out and the things I'm talking about and you're like, yeah, I really like this, that's a match for me, well, this could be a great option. But if you look at it and you go, oh, I wish I had this or I wish I had that, well, it's probably not the best. And that might seem like common sense, but my point is that it's not always important to buy the best option. It's important to buy the one that best matches your personality and what's going to keep you coming back. And I think one of the biggest things that you have to gauge when you buy this is, I'm going to use Peloton as an example. And other top-end bikes are much like this as well. But they have that cadence sensor built in. They have that resistance sensor built in. And what that means is on the screen when you're riding, it says you are currently at resistance 40. And you are currently cycling at a speed of 60. You know, I'm just throwing numbers out there, but it reports it on the screen. You know what you're doing and it's updating real time. And with that, the instructors are going to say things like, hey, I want you to go up to this speed, increase to this resistance, and you follow along with them and you know exactly where you're at. And something about that just makes you feel connected, makes you feel like you're doing the right thing, lets you know you're in the zones you're supposed to be, and just enhances the enjoyment of the ride a little bit just because there's more going on, more things to follow. And with this bike, you don't get that. It doesn't have the cadence sensor. It doesn't have the resistance sensor. So during the rides, the instructors are going to say things more like, increase the resistance a half turn. Make it feel like this.
So reach out and add a little bit of resistance to that wheel.
So you kind of are on your own a little bit more to kind of figure out where you want to be and trying your best to match up with them. And also when you are cycling, trying to match to the speeds that they're recommending without having an actual number to follow. Now, this might sound like I'm saying, boy, this is missing a lot. You really take away a lot when you get this and you're sacrificing a lot compared to those other bikes if you just spend more money. But honestly, it's not that big of a deal. When I first started riding it, I thought, wow, the Peloton and the other bikes like that have those features, there's something about it and you gotta have it. It's so cool, it's so neat. And when you do this, you're just gonna feel like you have such a gap. But I didn't really feel that way, to be honest. You are able to mimic what they're telling you and feel like you're following along well. So it really isn't that big of a sacrifice. And really what you have to do is gauge, do I need those features of those top tier bikes? Is that just something that is gonna sell it for me and make me ride that much more frequently or that much harder? Well, then that's for you. But if you're like, hey, I'd rather save some money and I'm okay with that small sacrifice and still be able to get a quality ride in, but have money in my pocket, well, then this might be an option for you. You just have to gauge what is right for you. I also really like the extras that come with the Plus model. When it comes to these bikes, you do a lot of the same thing. You do a lot of cycling, sitting in one spot using the same muscles, getting the same type of exercise. And with the swivel monitor, the kettlebells, the dumbbells, the resistance bands, and the other things that come with the Plus package, you're able to mix it up, engage different muscles, get different types of workouts, keep the entertainment factor or the excitement up, and just do different things and just keep your whole body more engaged instead of just doing that same thing over and over. So I like the variety that comes with that Plus package and just engaging more of your body. The best way to describe it and using those extras is that it's just more of a balanced workout. Now, as far as the bike goes itself, I was actually very, very satisfied. I've talked about a lot of it, the resistance being good, the features of the extras, all these things that come together and the overall quality of the bike. I was just very satisfied. And when I was riding it, I felt like I was getting a great workout, and that's really ultimately the end goal. When you use this and you're following the instructors and you're doing all the things you're supposed to be doing, are you getting the exercise you hope for, the reason that you purchased this bike? And by the end, I was a sweaty mess and I had enjoyed the ride, much like other top tier options. So that enjoyment factor, the getting the quality workout, it was all still there, even though I maybe went to a middle tier option. So those of you that are looking to save a few bucks, you don't lose much. You're still able to achieve those goals. But to summarize, when you look at this bike and if you say, oh, it's missing things I want, well, then you probably don't want to get it. Because the last thing you ever want to do is buy a bike or buy anything and just immediately be like, oh, doesn't have this, doesn't have that. You're already hating on your purchase, and that's not what you want to do when you're talking about exercise or working towards health goals and making big purchases like this. But if you're able to look past that and those aren't really huge items to you, all in all, I am just very happy with this bike. I got a great quality workout. I enjoyed it. The content was good. The UI was good. The monitor quality is good. The bike quality is good. All in all, end to end, I was very happy. And I think a lot of you would truly enjoy this bike as long as you're able to look past some of those things you do lose by saving a few bucks and getting that middle tier option. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like it for me. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you want to know when new health and technology products come out. But until next time, here's to a healthier you, and have a good one.